Welcome back to another episode of the Soul Sanctuary podcast. On today's episode, I welcome my special guest, Coreen Duquette. Coreen and I are going to talk all about the importance of nutrition, mindset, and sleep when it comes to your healing, when it comes to recovery, and when it comes to building a healthy, stable wellness journey. I can't wait for you to hear this episode. There's so many nuggets, so many goodies, so many things that I didn't even know that I think that you're going to appreciate. Welcome, Coreen, to the Soul Sanctuary podcast. Before we begin, I want to know what lights your soul up? What brings you joy? What brings you life and excitement to your life?
What brings me, well, my daughter, for one, she brings me joy. My 9-year-old. She's the one thing I really always wanted, and she's just more than perfect, I guess you could say that. The other thing that lights me up is health and nutrition. It's always been my jam. Well, it's been my jam for about just over 20 years. But yeah, struggling with IBS and leaky gut. So always just having a knowing that I know I can fix this. I know this is fixable. So it took about 20 years to fix it, but I'm not saying it's fixed, but it's a lot. I've gotten it under control. We'll say that for sure. And I'm always learning more.
Let's expand on that a little.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story around that? Like how did you discover that things weren't right, that something was wrong? And then you talked about a knowing and just elaborating on what that was, what that felt like in your body to just know that some of the information you got from health professionals wasn't exactly resonating and you knew you could do more and such.
I think, well, from a young age, I had tonsillitis, so I was on a lot of antibiotics for that. My parents were building a house, so I don't think they had time for me to be sick because they were so busy. So I just remember being on antibiotics for quite a while until we could find a time where the house was actually finished and we could move in and live in it. Is when my sister and I finally, we got our tonsils and adenoids out at the same time, right? Back then, that's what they did. So, and then almost 2-3 years later, my appendix burst. So that was another 2 weeks in the hospital, antibiotics, pain meds. And then, so again, that was a lot of medication. And then I think at 13, I had my wisdom teeth out. And I remember that was always infected and always inflamed. And that was something they held off again on getting them removed. So I was on antibiotics again, a lot of penicillin as a kid. Followed with some trauma. Like I had some trauma too, growing up from an early age. So yeah, so right from then on, and then going through puberty, acne medication, all of that stuff. But we didn't realize it. A lot of it was caused from leaky gut from all those antibiotics. It made my hormones all imbalanced. So yeah, and then I went through most of my high school, dealing with that. And then I think by the time I was 14, 15, I was on birth control to control my hormones and my skin. It wasn't for the reason it's supposed to be used for. So yeah, and then I think once 20 hit, my IBS it was like I hit a wall. My digestive system just quit. So from like 20 and on to like my mid 40s, I struggled with, the IBS, the bloating, the constipation, just stuff like that. Very just discomfort. So yeah, and then finally I had tried different diets. They didn't work, and I went to specialists. It didn't really work out. They didn't seem to know what was going on with me. So finally I knew I had to take things into my own hands. And I knew that there's no way I'm going to live like this forever. Something's not right. So yeah, I had finally decided to start the keto diet. And a lot of my symptoms went away. Not completely, but a lot of my symptoms went away. So yeah, that was probably the biggest turnaround.
The keto diet is the carbs.
Yeah, low carbs or no carbs.
Right.
Very, very little carbs. And yeah, like high protein or high fat. Like you can go either way. But I started out with a high protein, like a very, very little carbs. And I immediately I noticed I had improvement. No more bloating, no more constipation. I mean, there was still issues, but again, I kept researching, and I'm still always learning more about myself. So yeah, like it's not perfect. Sometimes I still have issues, but again, I can recover a lot quicker now too. And I've incorporated a little bit of carbs back in. I know my level and how much I can take or eat in order to, maintain my digestive system.
Let's talk about levels. I love that you said that, because not a lot of people know what their body can handle in terms of supplements, proteins, carbs, fats, right? And not that's kind of the problem, quote unquote, with dieting, is because for the most part, most diets are one size fits all. And we are very different humans. All of us are built differently. All of us function differently. All of us receive vitamin D from the sunlight differently. Get our vitamins differently. So when you say that you know your levels, how do you know that information?
My levels as far as carb intake, it's something that I've really had to discover on my own and play around with myself. Like I will say through research that we're supposed to have between 50 and 100 milligrams of carbs in a day. But according to the Canada Food Guide and all that, they promote a lot of carbs, a lot of, carbohydrates, but it doesn't mean that's going to work for everybody, right? And we don't eat enough protein. So and we're always snacking all day, which is keeping our insulin levels spikes high as well. So those are things to take in account. I mean, as far as everybody taking in a certain amount of carbs a day, everybody's different, right? A lot of people, like for me, taking in a lot of carbs, I find that I'm hungrier more often too. Like
when you eat more carbs, you feel hungry.
Yeah. So there's this thing called a leptin hormone, which is it's supposed to tell you when you're satisfied and you're full. But I always found that when I ate carbs, I was always hungrier again an hour later. So that's something. But then there's other people that I talk to and they're more satisfied off of carbohydrates. So yeah, everybody's different. And again, we absorb things differently. Yes. And yes. I don't necessarily absorb certain vitamins and the nutrients in our foods because I struggle with leaky gut. So that's always been an ongoing thing, repairing the lining in my gut walls. I'll get there though.
I love that you said that absorption is different.
Mm-hmm.
I know just from talking to you about other things that and we will get into this, might as well get into it now, but
Okay.
is like blood tests, getting blood work done and seeing your levels of different vitamins, different hormones in your body. There's also tracking of insulin, not because you're diabetic, but there are ways that you can track when your insulin spikes, when you're needing, more proteins, especially as women, we need more protein in our diet.
Yes.
So how did you get into doing that? I know with leaky gut, you probably would have had a physician that saw you, that followed you, and you ran blood tests, and you can request to see. For myself, I have both, obviously physician, but also I see a naturopath that happily runs blood work for me, or gives a rec, and sometimes my family physician will do it as well, because he's a really big believer in the whole package.
Right.
But if for anyone listening that's like, okay, where do I get started on all this? This is what's going on in my body. How would they go about getting their blood work, and how about like reading their blood work?
Well, this is something actually I just discovered just over a year ago. Like, I did not know that we could print our blood work off. Some labs will put them up, on their site, and you create an account and you can view your blood work. You can view your blood work before the doctor even calls you if there's any issues.
Yes.
So, and again, the doctor, they don't tell you. All they do is call you and they tell you, okay, this is low. Like, for instance, my iron has always been up and down over the years, and my B12. And so it's when I found out that you could print your blood work off and you could view it yourself, I was like, awesome. So again, the first time I viewed my blood work online, my ferritin, which was my iron, was low. And I was like, okay, so it's low. So of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to go and get a good supplement, a good iron supplement. But then there were times where my iron was fine. I never had an issue. So I was like, okay, so when my iron was fine, what level was it at? Nobody ever told me. Was it? Because again, we have ranges, right?
Yes.
We have, and then when you go to a naturopath, their ranges are even different, more different. Because
Yes.
our ranges, according to, the doctor, modern medicine, the ranges are 100 years old, these tests.
Yeah.
So they need to be updated, for one.
Yes.
So I didn't know what my range was, even when I was okay with my iron. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get my range up high. I'm going to get it as high as, as possible. So I, again, went to my health food store. I asked them, they recommended a brand that was highly absorbable. So I waited, I think I took it for about 6 months and then had my blood work done again. And my iron was sky high. It was great. Like, not in an abnormal range, but, in a range where I knew, what, it's not just in the range. It's, it's up there. So just stuff like that, they don't let you know. So just being your own advocate and learning that paperwork, that you finally realize, or you want, then what questions to ask. Doing some research, what you want on your blood work, like, because there's a lot of times that they'll just do the very basic.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I've had it, so okay, check my thyroid. Well, there's 3 different thyroid tests. So I've had to specifically ask for those 3 different thyroid tests, not just the one thyroid test that normally that's what they only do. And my B vitamins, those are important as well, not just B12. You want all of your B vitamins checked. we absorb them so differently. Like I don't absorb all my vitamins very well. So I need to get them checked. The same with iodine and our copper. Like our soil is so depleted, and we don't get all of that from our fruits and vegetables. So just stuff like that. So again, my program that I run, that's one big important module in my program is getting your blood work done. And I teach you how to go through it and to be your own advocate. Ask the right questions to your doctor. Yeah.
And that it's okay to do your own research too.
Yeah.
I know we're in a world now with like fake news and fake information, and all the things circulating. And for a long time, during pandemic times, people were like, there was a lot of people out there were shunning people from doing their own research. But here's the thing, and I'm not saying anything wrong with not doing it either, but it is your body. This is your body. This is your vessel. This is your life. And if you do not know your body, if you do not know the information about what is normal for you, or what is not normal, and do your own research about what should look normal in, a body, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and you are putting all your trust in other sources that absolutely, yes, they're educated and they know their information. Like you said, some of that information is very outdated. And I always say, and always have said, they don't know you. They don't know you. They don't know what is normal and what isn't normal. And I've learned that over the years for myself, having to advocate for myself and say to certain doctors, mind you, I've been really blessed with great specialists for my disease. But there's been times where I've met not my specialist. So whether it's like a resident or, a fill-in or something, that I've really had to advocate and say, I'm sorry, I know on paper what you're saying is what you're saying because you've read it somewhere in a chart somewhere for other people, or it was a collective, information for this certain group of people, but that's not my story. And this isn't right. Whatever I'm experiencing is not right.
Well, and a lot of doctors I follow and listen to, symptoms trump the results.
Yes.
So, for example, my B12 was sky high on my last result. So they weren't concerned, but they were like, it's a little high. So I would cut back on the B12, but I felt great. So I knew it was okay. Again, those ranges are old.
Right.
So when you're listening to a doctor that actually has nutrition background, because a lot of doctors don't get nutrition in medical school. It's not important. It's more of the meds, learning about the meds, and reading test results. It's not about nutrition. So again, like the doctors that, specialize in nutrition and want to get to actually the root cause, they want to know why this is causing that, it's if they know you're feeling good, then that's all that really matters.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
The evidence is very clear in the medical system, especially in hospitals, that nutrition is dead last on the list of things that they think about. You think about the people that are in the hospital, myself included in my lifetime, and they've staying for days, weeks, whatever, and the food that you get presented with, nutrition is last in line for these people. And I'm not saying it's good or bad or what have you, but in a world where we are a body who gets fueled by food, and we have a mind and we have emotions and all the things, you need to take into account that that's important. And that you're right, like food is energy, food is fuel for these vessels. And if you're snacking all the time because you're tired and you need those dopamine hits of sugar, figure out what it is that your body actually does need.
Yeah, because really, if you are snacking all the time, it's not giving you the energy.
No.
If you're not fueling it the proper way. Yeah.
My husband and I recently gave up coffee. And by recent, I mean like this is day 2.
How does that feel?
It's not bad. I never was a coffee drinker. I was always a tea drinker. And then in the last, I would say 3 or 4 months, I became a coffee drinker regularly in the morning. We'd have one, then slowly it got to 2 cups. And then on the weekends, we kind of would just like relax and sip coffees for a couple hours, have 2 or 3 cups together. So not extensive coffee drinking, but noticing, and here's where it's really important to know your body, the level of dehydration that was happening in my body from regular cups of coffee. Instant, really, after a cup, I'd be like, oh, I'm really thirsty, like I'm really dried out. And noticing it just in other areas of my body, not having like the proper lubricants, like my lungs, for instance, felt really dry to clear any. I know I don't get a lot of mucus anymore, but there would be times where I still kind of do and I can't get it out. And in 2 days, just cutting out coffee, things seem to be regulating again. And he too, he's like, I'm starting to get all like spinny and weird after my coffee. So I think I'm going to take a break. He said, I'm glad you are, because I was going to say the same. Let's just, maybe Saturdays we'll have coffee or whatever, but let's switch. So again, with the noticing, just noticing your body, where I know you love coffee. I know you're an advocate for
love
coffee.
my coffee. But again, it's different for everybody. Like I can go without coffee. I don't want to, but I can go without it without having the shakes and the jitters. Yeah, like I can handle it. I love tea as well, but tea is something I've noticed that I've had to back out on, because tea can be high in oxalates.
Interesting.
So yeah, that was another thing. I'm big on oxalates as well. I do a lot of research with that. So yeah, tea can be high in oxalates, depending again on how you steep it. So you want to steep your tea like for 1 minute or less, because and I was steeping it for like sometimes 20 minutes. If I was running around doing things, it would just sit on the counter and I'd be letting it cool off anyway. And it'd be steeping. And thinking about it now, the oxalate content in steeped tea for like, and sometimes it was almost an hour steeping.
Yeah.
I'd forget about it. So I noticed that was one thing I've cut out is tea.
Interesting.
Noticing that.
Explain what an oxalates is and what it does.
So oxalates are little crystals that form in the kidney.
Oh, so kidney stones would really feed off of these.
They are the biggest contributor to kidney stones. And also like a lot of oxalates in the urine contribute to gout.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's something, because your liver does not filter oxalates. It's your kidney's job to filter oxalates. So your kidneys cannot handle all of those oxalates. Like it depending again on the person. But again, it just depends on the person. But your small little kidneys have to filter those oxalates, and oxalates are little crystals. They're like really little. If you think about it, they're little tiny things of glass,
right,
that have to filter through your kidneys.
Yeah. Then hence that
So
they can't.
Yeah.
And then form a stone, and then
So that's something that I really am keeping an eye on, even for myself. Because yeah, again, I love tea. I love my tea at night before bed, but it's something that I've been taking away just to see how it feels, or how, what it's doing for my body. Because another thing with oxalates, you can, how sometimes you get crusties around the eyes.
Yes.
That's your body trying to release oxalates.
Oh, wow.
And then the puffy under eyes.
Yes.
That's your kidneys, like we're trying to filter, trying to release, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it oxalates with the puffy eyes, but that's something I've always noticed. So it's like, okay, let's see, we'll try and cut out the tea and see how that works.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's really interesting. Do you, because I noticed in the last few weeks, the puffy eyes. I wasn't really drinking tea like I used to. Like I used to have a couple of teas a day, one in the morning, one halfway through the day. Do you think like a dehydration, to circle back, I know that I definitely was dehydrated, would also occur with the puffy eyes? Do you think that because your kidneys are trying to filter and there's nothing, almost like they dried out?
Yes. Like again, so they say like you're supposed to take, like you take your weight and you divide it in half, and that's how many ounces you're supposed to drink in a day.
Right.
But again, if you're drinking coffee, which is a dehydrator, you might want to add an extra cup or two.
Right.
Your
And
water intake.
I know you mentioned once about water and not absorbing. There's lots of people out there that don't absorb water like others do, right?
Right.
So in that case, and I've recently, in the last couple of weeks, started this because I was curious if maybe that was also, I heard you say it, and then I thought, I wonder if that's something I'm experiencing as well as the coffee. But adding in like electrolytes into your water.
Definitely. Even just adding a really good brand of salt, like Redmond salt is a really good brand of salt, because you want a good quality salt. You don't want no table salt.
Right.
You want a good quality salt, like a Celtic salt, and a Himalayan or a good sea salt.
Yeah.
Redmond's salt, that's what I use. I've researched it, and that's the brand that keeps coming up every time. So that's the brand I use. But you don't have to purchase those expensive electrolytes. Just putting some sea salt in your water is good. Because you can drink a ton of water, and if you're not absorbing it properly, you're not getting the benefits.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. And also remembering with the purchasing of the electrolytes, so Gatorade, Powerade, BioSteel, what do they got now? What's Prime? My son loves. It's a YouTube thing. Not only expensive, but high sugar content in them,
full of sugar and chemicals.
And chemicals, and that's not. You're defeating the purpose.
That's right.
You're absolutely defeating the purpose.
Yeah. Like when Gatorade came out, I think it came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
It didn't taste the way it does now. It actually tasted awful, because it was a healthier electrolyte back then, but it didn't taste good, so it didn't appeal to people, right? Until I think Coca-Cola bought them out, and of course they added sugar and whatever else they've added, and to make it taste better for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that. Like again, there's only 3 minerals that are in electrolytes, and that's potassium, magnesium, and like a good salt, sodium. So you can make your own electrolytes. I make my own. I get this brand called New Salt. You can only get it out of the States, but Amazon sells it, and it's just straight potassium. So I add that, and again, it depends on the kind of magnesium that you use. Like I use magnesium citrate, so I add that to my electrolyte recipe, and then my Redmond salt. Things don't have to be expensive. I mean, Elements is a good brand of electrolytes, but it's, you know, it's not the cheapest as well, but it's convenient too. So there's options. There's always a way.
There is. There's a will, there's a way. I always say that. And thank you for breaking that down too. Really and truly, if all else fails, some good salt, high quality salt in water will do the trick.
Yeah,
will help you absorb that water, will help you keep that nutrients of the water and all the things it does for your body in, versus if you are peeing a lot
then you're not
after you drink water or after you drink fluids, you definitely are not absorbing.
Yeah, you're not absorbing. And like I said, even if I find I'm a little tired or feeling quite tired or maybe weak, like I know, okay, put some electrolytes in my water and it perks me right up. Like today, I was feeling a little tired and I put some electrolytes in my water and I feel better. I don't know if it's from that or it's from our talk, but I'm feeling more energized. That's for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
We should just talk every day. It's, yeah, a lot of us are feeling that tiredness. But yeah, back to that. That's another important thing. Your body is giving you signals all the time, all the time. Right. So observing where you're at in a day. Am I tired? How long have I been tired for? How long have I felt weak for? How long have I felt, tired can also be unmotivated or really like stagnant and still and paralyzed by not wanting to do anything. What is going on in my body? And instead of freaking out, yes, obviously, if there's a medical emergency, please call a health professional in that regard. But knowing what your body is on a normal scale and knowing what your body needs allows you, just like you, Coreen, to navigate and be like, okay, I think I'm dehydrated today because I'm seeing all of these symptoms. I'm going to add a little salt or a little bit of my electrolyte mixer into my water. And look at, now I feel a little less.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like when you're feeling tired, like ask yourself, how did I sleep last night? What have I ate the last couple of days? And again, how was your sleep the last few nights? Because again, like I sleep a lot better than what I used to. Now that I've gotten my health under control. But like there's, ask yourself, how much stress have I been under? What have I been thinking about? Like, again, you're focusing on negative, you're going to burn your energy out.
Yes.
Right. So there's so many things. That's why, again, in my program, it's not just about nutrition. It's about your sleep. It's about what you're thinking about. And yes, it is about what you're eating as well. It's a big part of it, but there's so many other factors. Are you getting movement in? Again, and another thing is fasting. It's great for clearing that foggy brain. And how many chemicals are in your household? How often do we open the windows when the weather's cold? Getting
not as much
toxins.
Apparently as Europe does. I was listening to a podcast, I forget her name, it's a doctor, and she was focusing on hormones specifically, but how she lived in Europe for a while, and at least a couple times a week, everybody, regardless of the weather, will open their windows and air out your house.
Yeah, because our quality of air on the inside is anywhere from 20, if it's 5 to 20% more toxic than outside.
Yes. Yeah, she said something similar, which is wild, because you think, oh yeah, my house is clean. Yeah, but what are you cleaning it with?
Yeah.
What are you utilizing? Are you using toxic chemicals still to clean your home?
Exactly. And it can be what you're putting on your skin. Those dry shampoos, everybody's just spraying away. Like those are chemicals.
Yeah.
Like if I use them, I go outside and I'll spray my
Smart.
roots.
Yeah.
That's what I do. But yeah, like we don't realize what we're using and what we're inhaling all day long in our house. So my thing is when I clean the house, which is usually once a week, you get a little bit sweaty, sometimes warm, open the windows while you're cleaning the house.
Yeah, I do the same. I always open my windows when I clean. It doesn't matter the time of year.
Yeah.
This house gets, but it does. It feels so much more fresh and then clean too, especially in the winter when that crisp air comes in and just like gets everything out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your program. Let's talk about why you developed it, what's in it that's really going to enhance people who would want to enroll in it. Like I know obviously it's somebody probably listening to this podcast that's feeling like, life is not right, or their body's not right, or they don't have the energy, or they don't have, the capacity for all kinds of things with their emotions. Like, let's dive into what your program can offer to people.
Sure, definitely. My program is a lot of the things that I went through. It's a lot of the trials and errors that I went through in, getting my health back on track and getting my gut health back on track. I would say it could be anywhere from somebody just not knowing where to start. Where do I start with my health? I don't know where to start at it, because there's a lot of people, they just don't know where to start. And again, it's not just about nutrition. There's so many other factors. I would say someone who is looking for prevention. And it could even be someone who's already been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, anything like that. So I personally think that anybody that is looking to get their health on track, this program,
which I feel like is everybody, right?
Yeah, like
especially as you age, especially as you get into your 30s and you're in your 40s, like it's time to focus on that piece, because you got one body, you got one kick at this can.
That's right.
Or so we think. And it's time to.
Yeah. And then like a lot of the stuff that's in my program too, like oxalates, nobody knows about them. Nobody knows about them. Just like I went to how many specialists for my IBS and they didn't know what to do. They really didn't. So right then and there, I knew. I was like, okay, this is something I'm going to have to figure out on my own. But I would say, like nutrition's not just the only thing, and you want to make it sustainable. So whatever you're trying to do, you want to get healthy, you want to lose some weight, just better overall energy, better sleep, better hormone balance, even starting to work out, get some movement into your life, right? It doesn't have to be high impact workouts. It can be something that you actually enjoy.
Maybe walking. That's how I started.
Yeah.
That's how I started moving, because that's all my body would allot for. It gets your heart rate up enough that I could, get some air moving in my lungs, and at the time cough a bunch of stuff up. But walking is so effective, low impact. And we're not talking like when I take my dog for a walk, yes, that's kind of what got started, but he stops a lot. Just now, like, pee on things and the whole thing, right? We're talking walk, like just find a partner that you can go,
whatever you have to do to get yourself out there and walk. Like for walking, for me, is a decompressant. It helps my mind.
Yep.
And just like look at your dog. They love walking. That's to me, walking is stress. It's a stress reliever. So again, like movement can look any way you want it to. And that's again about my program. It's called the health mindset, because you're shifting that paradigm, because we can learn to, eat a certain meal plan for however many weeks we want to lose weight until we reach that goal. And then how many people go back to right to what they were eating before and they gain all that weight back? You want it to be sustainable.
Yes.
Right? It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So even weight loss
about yourself, right? Like really and forever giving yourself this new image of, I am healthy. These are my boundaries. These are the things that I pour into, and these are the things I no longer will allow.
Yeah. So like I said, like weight loss, if you follow the program, you're going to lose weight. It's not about just losing weight. It's about that healthy lifestyle. So I don't always love to say, oh, you're going to lose a ton of weight. It's not about that with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. You're going to naturally, the weight's just going to naturally come off if you're following and you're shifting that mindset.
Let's talk about mindset. Mindset's so important, as you and I know.
Yes.
It's probably the missing link in all of these trend diets, or even for myself. I'm a Beachbody coach, and for a long time was focusing on enrolling people to move their bodies, right? But not well, I always talked about mindset, but I know others don't always talk about the importance of that piece. And that's like the key that's going to unlock the door to a new life. If you can get over this and some of the stories that you tell yourself about your physical body, then you can do it. You're going to do it and lose the weight, like you said. Yeah. And I know mindset's the first module in your program. Is that right?
That's, I'm not going to say, like, there's so many things that are important. Sleep is another so important as well. Like that would be a number one for me as well, like getting your sleep under control. But mindset is the first module, because you need to get your mindset in order. Like, you don't want to be looking in the mirror and picking out all the negative things that you don't like about yourself. So that's the first thing we start with, is how do we want to look? How do we want to feel? What does that person, your goal achieved self, how do they dress? How do they act? How do they walk? How do they talk? So those are things that, shifting that mindset, to make your nutritional or your healthy lifestyle journey sustainable.
Yeah. Because like I said, without it, and you said it too, without that piece, you'll finish this program just like you have every other weight loss program.
Right.
Which is, yours isn't a weight loss, but that's kind of
the bonus.
Deal, right? And you'll finish it just like you have done in the past. And then within 3 to 6 months, the scale starts to rise, or you start to stop moving, or you start to eat unhealthy again. And then you circle and you beat yourself up. Why am I here? Why have I done this? Why do I even try? This always happens to me. And it's because of that. It's because of that piece.
You have to change
haven't changed
your
mindset about who you are as a person.
You have to change those habits. You have to become a different person.
Yeah.
The person that you want to be.
Shed this, because you want to shed a bunch of other things, right? You want to shed the exhaustion, and even some people might want to shed the weight and shed the lack of sleep. Like you want all that to be gone. That piece within you that tells you that you're not good enough, or you should just stay heavy, or whatever it is, whatever the stories are, also needs to go.
And bringing your awareness to those stories that you're telling yourself. A lot of us, we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts in a day. A lot of us don't even realize what we're thinking about and how we're talking to ourselves.
And yourself is always listening.
Yeah.
I forget who said that. forget where I saw that, but it was,
Yeah.
be careful what you say to yourself, because you are always listening.
Yeah.
And your body's always going to follow what you're saying about you.
That's right.
Every single time.
It comes through it gets released through your body. So yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Coreen, where can people find you and get more information about you, about your program, about the work that you do?
You can find me on Instagram at Coreen Duquette Coaching. You can find me on Facebook as well, Coreen Duquette Coaching on Facebook. Yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm sure everybody's got a social page. I'm pretty easy to find. But yeah, and just reach out. My Calendly link is on my social pages. So yeah, reach out or send me a message. We can have a chat.
I highly recommend anyone listening to do so, to check her out, to book a call, a one-on-one, see if her program is right for you. It is, it's different than anything that you've experienced when you're going through a health change. It really checks all those boxes, and promise that it will be the program that moves the needle forward for you. It'll be something that will absolutely change your life.
Again, and just one last thing, like, it's not about, exercising more, eating less, because it's not sustainable. It's not fun. I like to eat. I just eat the right foods that keep me satisfied. So, yeah.
Finding the balance too.
Yeah,
Right? Like sometimes you have a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Don't get upset at yourself because you had
right.
a piece of cake. Just find
forgive yourself and get back on track, or like, we deserve to treat ourselves once in a while. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Coreen, for being here today. I really appreciate it. And I will put all of your links in the show notes so anyone can click on them.
Perfect.